I did want to discuss this because I think it's interesting. I think someone's in my Hulu account.
Okay, what are they watching?
Well, I think a while ago they were watching some sort of a cooking show, maybe. I think I referenced it on the internet. I think I posted about it. It was like 32 seasons of cooking show, or like,
right.
I don't know, Top Chef or whatever. But then, I don't know if
Chopped.
it was like yesterday. Oh, it actually might have been Chopped.
I think, yeah, that's the one that when you said like 32 seasons, that's what it made me think of that.
It was a crazy number that I thought was impossible. Anyway, so this week, as I started watching Always Sunny again, or this episode specifically, I now have in my recently watched shows The Bachelor.
Uh-oh. Definitely not you.
Which is definitely not me. Then something which I don't even understand, it's Holy Moly 2. Okay, so in Hulu, for some reason they don't give you the like show title. They leave that for the image, like the thumbnail will have
like
it.
They don't tell you like what show it is, or they don't say the episode title.
No, they don't tell you the name of the show.
But they tell you the
just
episode
show you the
title.
episode.
That's fucking weird.
It is strange, but anyway, so the image, the thumbnail has something, a little icon that says Holy Moly 2, and it seems to be about miniature golf or something.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Have you thought of changing your password?
I'm about to. There's something funny. There's something fishy happening in my Hulu account. So yeah, password change.
Do you have a list of suspects?
The FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the PGA, the TVA. I don't know if you've watched Loki.
Terminal Velocity Agency.
Timeline verification. I don't know.
Owen Wilson, they made him look really like old and paunchy. Pretty good job by the hair and makeup.
Maybe he's just old and paunchy.
He's not, because I saw an interview with him about this show, and he looks exactly like he did in Royal Tenenbaums.
Okay, fair enough. I actually was just watching an episode of Community where Jack Black tries to join the gang, and then at the end
insert him into those old scenes.
Yeah. And then at the end, he when they finally say, sure, let's give him a shot, and he's like, oh my God, thank you. Then Owen Wilson walks in from the other side with like the raver chick and Starburns, and they're like...
The group thought about what you said, we took a vote, and you're in.
Oh, no way! I'm in the cool group?
Yeah. And it was funny, because I saw that, and then like 20 minutes later watched the episode of Loki and saw
So
Owen
now
Wilson.
it's time for Wedding Crashers.
15 years apart. Speaking of Wedding
Crashers.
Are you with me?
Yeah. Jan.
Yeah, Jan is Keir O'Donnell or something.
Yeah, he was like the emo sickly boy
painter
from Wedding Crashers, yeah.
Jumping ahead, but bringing it all back. The 5 degrees of Owen Wilson.
So the government of Sweden has collapsed.
That's what I read on the internet.
Yeah.
No one seems confident.
There's not much confidence in the PM. I don't pretend to understand Swedish politics, but it does kind of remind me a little bit of the United States government in that this whole thing started because the current party in power has been keeping the left out. They've been kind of blocking them from policy making and stuff. So they said, if that's the case, then fuck you. And we're going to get our friends over here in the wrong side, the right side, to like they would love to do this. And so they took him out with a vote of no confidence. And all because the rent is possibly going to be too damn high.
Wild card, bitches! Yeah!
Let's do the thing where we talk about it's always sunny in Los Angeles. Wait, no. It's always Stockholm and Philadelphia. Wait, hold on. It's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Didn't I do that unintentionally a few times?
Yes, I will take all the blame. It's a weird name. It's very confusing. It's hard to say. It's hard to remember.
But welcome to our podcast.
Welcome to our podcast.
My name is Nate Harold. I'm here with Will Noon.
We're talking about Season 4, Episode 6, the exciting conclusion to the two-parter, Mac and Charlie Die, which was written by Mac, Charlie, and Glenn.
You could say his name is Rob, but his real name isn't Mac.
It's McElhenney. You don't think people called him Mac?
No, I'm sure they did, but I don't think that's how he's credited as a writer. Rob McElhenney, Glenn Howerton, and Charlie Day.
Whoa. Do you think Dayman references Charlie Day?
I mean, maybe that was his nickname in junior high.
Maybe he considered himself like a superhero, when he was young, and he wanted to be the Dayman. To recap, following Mac and Charlie's faked death, the gang holds a funeral at Patty's. So we see Dennis wearing the duster, refusing to burn it, and he presents a slideshow with Mac and Charlie, and it's pretty amazing. Meanwhile, Bonnie Kelly and Mrs. Mac are in the audience. Mrs. Mac sleeps while Bonnie weeps, and we see Mac and Charlie watching through the air vent, complaining about who's mourning who. Meanwhile, Dee still refuses to believe that they're actually dead.
Dennis grieves for a very short period of time. He places an ad in the newspaper looking for female roommates when Jan comes to the door and suggests that he be the roommate. Dennis is awed by Jan's European style and panache, and two German girls come over and dance in their underwear while Mac and Charlie are watching from the fire escape. Dee comes to the door and says that she's going for a run and tells him where she's going. And Dennis, of course, shoos her away. Mac and Charlie then visit Charlie's apartment, where Frank has made a mannequin look-alike of Charlie and is arguing with it about whose turn it is to take out the bedpan.
Jan and Dennis aren't really living up to what Dennis's expectations were, so they take the party to Patty's, where they get more women in underwear to show up and dance, and it's going to be this European sex party. So Jan tells Dennis that he arranged for someone to use the glory hole in the bathroom, so he heads in there. At that point, Dennis sticks his penis through the hole, and it turns out that it's actually Frank on the other side. Both of them get very upset, and they kick Jan, as well as all the girls, out of the bar.
Charlie, Dee, and Mac come out of the Patty's back office with a spectacular fireworks display in an attempt to scare Frank and Dennis into thinking they were being haunted. Dennis informs them that he knew that they were alive because he could hear them in the air vents. Charlie expresses concern that Luther may still try to kill them when Frank conveniently reads them a letter that Luther knifed to the door, which explains that he has fled to Mexico to get away from the gang.
This is actually a hard one to make sense of.
It relies so much on the episode before for laying the groundwork.
Right.
That, as we're analyzing this, but just one episode, it is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's really like a quick sort of conclusion, and there's a few different storylines just kind of all heading together.
This is a unique episode of It's Always Sunny in regards to the opening scene and the title screen. The classic Sunny joke, because it's literally just a recap,
right,
that you'd see on a 2-part Full House episode. So it's very out of character, but I guess necessary. No joke. The joke was too good the first time, so they just coasted in on that. Yeah,
the fact that it's the same title, it would be hard to set that one up again.
Right.
Oh, man. What if obviously they wouldn't actually die, but that would be funny if in this re-intro they had something where they thought they could have died and it would have been funny again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have probably been a little too much work for them, but
yeah, that's pretty tough.
I think the only other time that I can remember them doing this, maybe they did it with The Gang Gets Whacked. I don't remember, but I think they did this recap thing on The Gang Goes to Hell, because that was a 2-parter as well.
Right.
And I sort of remember them being a previously on Lost style.
Previously on Lost.
Yeah.
Recap.
It's a classic to be continued recap. You have to. It's funny to think about it, but will that happen anymore? Because of the streaming?
Because you just watched 20 episodes before, so you're very aware of what's going on?
Yeah, or do you think they'll keep doing that, but they'll just have a skip recap button?
Oh, yeah, definitely, right? I haven't watched Lost on streaming, but that to me seems like the prime candidate for skipping recap, if there is such an option.
There's always a skip recap button.
Okay.
But Well, I shouldn't say that, but there was literally on Hulu on this episode, but
Oh, okay.
But I'm trying to think. There's a show I was watching recently where the recap sort of clued you in on to what you needed to know for this episode.
Yeah,
Even if you had been watching the whole series, they pick and choose what things to remind you about.
To reference it for the millionth time, that's also what they did on Lost. If it was
Lost.
about this is an episode about Jin and Sun, and they would go all the way back,
Right.
show how
Yeah.
their relationship dynamic has changed or
Yep. Okay. Now that we've gotten full circle, I think they will always have the recap because, especially even if you're binging something, there's always going to be something from the third episode that was 3 years prior.
right. They're pointing at something.
That you're going to yeah. This is the information you need to know for this specific episode. Anyway, so let's talk about, what do you think? What should we talk about? This is pretty obvious holdover from the last one. We've got Mac and Charlie doing their thing, later joined by Dee. Then we've got Dennis doing his own thing, which then becomes, I guess, Dennis and Jan for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And then, interestingly enough, we've got a new one, haven't seen before, Frank and new Charlie.
Yeah, Frank and Mannequin.
I really like new Charlie.
I did too. I thought it was very cute and kind of touching.
Oh, of course.
Because he's really mourning the loss of Charlie. It hit him pretty hard.
Big time.
Yeah, it's interesting if you think about this from the perspective of how the first episode went, that Dee would align with Mac and Charlie.
Right.
Because they have been fucking her over nonstop.
Yeah. The car, the credit cards. And meanwhile, she knew it. Everyone else is in disbelief.
Seeing them fight over the popper.
Does seem weird. They turn her around. I guess the threat of Luther coming for her, which also seems weird.
Yeah.
Why would Luther care about her?
You got bigger problems because my dad just got out of jail. He's coming to kill you.
What?
Yeah.
Me?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought that was just how Charlie and Mac got out of her being mad at them.
Yeah. For sure.
The only interaction with those two that I can think of is when Luther just grabs her hair.
Right, yeah. Oh, I guess maybe... Yeah. She was concerned that he was obsessed with her or something, right?
But she said that in private. Luther didn't hear that.
Right. But that would still make her concerned for him coming back, as a stalker.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes, of course.
If anyone's going to be eaten by Luther, it might actually be Dee.
It might be Dee, yeah. Moving forward on this podcast. So general theme, I was thinking sometimes what the fuck is the general theme of this? Don't get killed by your dad. But I was thinking maybe there's some sort of a moral to the story. And the moral that I take from this episode is be careful what you wish for. You could wish for a anonymous sex glory hole experience, and what you get is that glory hole experience with your dad.
Right. Interesting. Or the grass is always greener type thing where you're yeah, you might, once you get over there, you might not like it. Can't really blame Jan because Dennis kept asking for more.
No, I was going to mention that Jan he attempted to give him the kinkiest experience he possibly could.
Right.
But they're German, they're just...
Dennis, these girls are German. German. We're gonna have demented sex, right, Frank? Yeah.
I thought that was an amazing line.
I think Mrs. Mac bringing the TV to the funeral is pretty funny.
Yeah, it is amazing. And Mac then references it when no one's properly mourning him.
She's mourning you? Yeah, she watched an entire episode of Mama's Family and fell asleep.
Mrs. Mac is a great character. She's very true to the character. She complains and smokes and watches TV. That's pretty much
Sandy
it.
Martin. We love you, Sandy Martin.
As we referenced earlier, the slideshow is amazing. Also, it made me think of Country Mac.
Yeah, because they're wearing cowboy hats. Or Mac is... Are they both wearing cowboy hats? I know Mac is for sure wearing the traditional cowboy hat.
Yeah, I think there's hard country vibes, cowboy boots, cowboy themed sort of stuff going on, but they're on a motorcycle as well.
Yeah.
So it's very Country Mac, and it made me think awesome. Awesome photo shoot. Country Mac is awesome. But I thought maybe Country Mac would have showed up for the funeral. But maybe he was too far out in the country. I don't know.
Country Mac, coming to the big city.
Yeah, we don't know how far away he lives. I thought that the star of the first scene is obviously Dennis.
Because of his diatribe?
His eulogy for Mac is...
He certainly was angry.
And, Frank jumps in at that point and is like, you got to burn the duster. And then his diatribe, as you said, where...
Well, I'll burn these, but I'm not burning the duster. Okay, so forget it. It probably won't even burn anyway. It's not supposed to. It's flame retardant. That's like the whole point. It's like a shield of armor. So stop asking me to burn the duster. I'm not gonna burn it!
I thought that was a little long, but it definitely seemed like there was some improv going on where he was just like spitting.
Yeah, it seemed like the point was to make it long and like way too aggressive.
Yeah, at the end he's definitely screaming, and it ends unceremoniously, where you think that's just the intro and he gets off track and then he's going to get back on track, and then he just steps off the stage and lets Frank come up.
Frank with the one-gun salute.
Now, I'm gonna give him the one-gun salute.
No, you're not. Okay, all right, I got it. Oh, my God, let go.
After the funeral, I don't know if you saw this, but Frank has done it a few times, but when he tries to console Bonnie and he tries to lure her into the glory hole situation, she says no. But he does this thing with his lips.
Yeah, his lips disappear.
He curls his upper lip like up to his gums, and it looks so funny and so cute, and I love it.
Damn it.
I forget when else he's done it. I'll try and reference it next time, but it's like him admitting defeat and like thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Like strategizing or something?
Yeah, he tried. He failed. Dee's bus ride as a whole is a giant highlight in this episode.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're really in Philly, too. Really on a moving bus.
Yeah, it looks pretty believable. It's hard because I don't know the neighborhood, like, and it's the same one that later, or I guess at the same time, Mac and Charlie are in the little bodega store. So yeah, it was hard to tell where they were, but it did look pretty believable. I thought the scene was a little long, but especially on a first time viewing, the climax is pretty awesome.
Yeah, you got to let Caitlin Olsen flex a little bit.
Ma'am, I'm going to need for you to step behind the line.
Yeah, look, as you can probably tell, I'm not really a bus person. It's just...
And obviously she does in this, like the extras in this episode, or in this scene, are so well cast.
Yeah, it is like a zombie bus.
The star obviously being the giant guy.
Yeah.
You're just going to stare at me. That's what you're bringing to the table.
Played by Atticus Todd, who comes back 9 years later to reprise his role.
Dee's physical... It reminds me of her dancing. The way she has to sort of, I don't know, it's almost like a gymnastics routine where she's like twisting and turning and ducking, and sort of culminates at the end where that one guy, who, does he look like a famous musician?
He looks like the singer of Tool.
Maynard?
Maynard James Keenan, yeah. I thought it was Maynard James Keenan for like a split second.
I thought it was maybe Dee Snider vibes or something.
Yeah. I mean, Dee Snider smoking meth.
Yeah, but yeah, the way she contorts and has to like limbo under his arms is pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. I also especially liked her close talking with the bus driver.
Fine, you know what? I will go back behind the line with the rest of the filthy degenerates, but I am not happy about it, lady. Excuse me!
I was just going to mention Gregoria McGregor, who plays the bus driver, who seems like she might be a real bus driver.
She's either that or a very good actor.
Yeah. Very realistic vibes in this scene.
Yeah, she keeps a straight face when Dee gets real close.
Yeah, I mean, she's driving.
And yeah,
she's literally driving.
Actually driving. I wonder if that's easier when you have a task at hand to focus on. That's probably the only way I could ever act, is if I had to do something else.
And then, of course, the big guy vomiting kind of like softly and quietly in Dee's face. Or not in Dee's face, but like right in front of her face.
Just down his shirt when they're standing inches apart, face to face.
I hate the bus.
And I just wanted to add that I agree with Dee. I also hate the bus, and I say that kind of a lot.
Right.
But I mean, I take public transport a lot, but I will avoid the bus at all costs if I can.
Why? Okay, so why is it different? I feel the same way. Buses are very strange and foreign and weird. Subways make so much more sense to me. For some reason...
I have no problem with the subway.
Buses just feel different.
Maybe part of it is because they take so long, because it's like most people or most Americans are used to going places by car, and you know how fast it is to get here or there, and this is like painfully slow if you're in a hurry.
Yeah, I guess you don't have a personal subway car to reference it. So the subway stops. Also, the subway stops are much further apart.
Right.
Bus stops are every other block.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
So you're comparing that to the car that you see or the car that you drive in that just zooms straight past.
Right.
I guess it would be the equivalent of taking an express train all the time. In New York, I don't know if other cities have express versus local trains.
You mean
taking the express all the time? What?
Well, isn't the express fewer stops?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If you're always used to taking the express your whole life, and then all of a sudden you take a local, you'd be like, this is insane. What is happening?
Right.
I want buses to be cool, but also I think there's a certain fear I have where I know the bus has a route and it will always follow that route, but it seems like, I don't know, this bus could go anywhere. It's not on a track. Right. It has the option to turn left instead of right, or right instead of straight.
Right.
Whereas the subway seems like it's on a fixed path, and it seems more realistic, or I don't know, I can my lizard brain understands that if this thing on a track, in a tube, or whatever is going to go from point A to point B, whereas the bus, it's like, I don't know, it could be anything. Okay, it's similar to Super Mario Brothers. The end of, let's say, the 4th level is those little towers that you have to jump. You know, they're like, it's like the steps, but there's holes every other one.
Right.
You know, those towers. And then you get to the next ending, and they're floating blocks.
Sure.
It's the same thing.
Gotcha.
But it seems crazier.
Yeah. The mechanics are the same. The player mechanics are the same, but
visually, it looks scarier.
Right, exactly.
So to me, in my brain, the subway, that subway car has a fixed path and fixed stops. So does the bus. It's always going to follow the same route, but it seems scarier because it doesn't have to.
Because it's not on a track. Right.
It can make a left. It's not going to make a left. The route is right. It's always going to make that right. But it just seems scarier to me. We're not bus guys.
No.
I wish I was a bus guy.
Charlie and Mac fighting over the last popper is pretty funny. I don't know how poppers work, but saying that you only have one left seems weird.
Yeah, we still don't know what they are, but it's a thing you smell.
It's a thing you smell, exactly.
So do you think they have one jar, or is Charlie has determined that there's one sniff left?
That's what I gathered, is that Charlie has measured it like he measures the gasoline. He counts it.
Well, yeah, he was just counting as Mac was sniffing. Also, this is a classic bit. I don't think it's the best version, but it's the classic Charlie slapping someone's hand away.
Not going to just have it? Bro, can I just have it?
Will you let me do the poppers?
I just want it.
Will you let me?
I just need it, dude.
The popper person?
Pretty hard, really slapping it.
The first one is pretty natural, and the second one might be good. After that, they get into we get into a case of diminishing returns.
Moving forward, Dennis's apartment, we are introduced to the amazing Keir O'Donnell as Jan, the German.
The European swinger.
Dennis's line where he says...
You know, you're much smarter than my old roommate.
It was very fast and very funny, I thought. Jan's doing these head movements that escalate.
Yeah, his character is pretty over the top, and
Ow! Oh, hello.
I'm a bit torn on it.
You think it's too much?
Yeah, it's a little too much. It's it's very unbelievable especially this show is very unbelievable in general, but it gets a little cartoonish.
Now, are you European?
Oh, I'm sorry. What gave it away?
Yeah, my wife and I were actually just talking about this sort of recently, which accents are funny. And I sort of came to the conclusion that Americans, when they're doing a joke European accent, it's so often German. That's the almost stereotypical European guy accent.
Right. Yeah, my favorite is probably the comical, cartoon Italian. I think we discussed this.
Right,
but
that was up there too.
But that's not that almost, I think that implies like an Italian living in the United States, not actually a person like from Europe, almost. Right. Like I don't assume someone in Italy sounds like that. I assume some like weird meathead guy in New York sounds like an Italian accent.
Yeah, you were probably around a lot of that.
Exactly.
Right?
I grew up around that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the German thing is just like, I don't know. If you're doing something for humor,
yeah,
that's a good bet.
Well, yeah. I mean, even if it's not for humor, I think that's our go-to because, I mean, in our history, the Germans play a big role, I think, as far as like in the history that we're taught, you know.
Right.
We spend a lot of time focused on Germans, so.
I think an important part of this scene to point out is that Dennis goes through these classic sitcoms in reference to his living situation.
Yeah.
Starts with Odd Couple.
Right.
With him and
Which
Mac.
is a great description.
He wants to do a Three's Company type situation.
Yep.
And he ends with him and Jan doing the Perfect Strangers, which is just really funny. I mean, I know it's a TV show and it's a sitcom, so like, of course, you know, these things are referenced, you know, in the writer's room or whatever, probably. Right. But just hearing it in like that quick succession was, I thought, a really well done joke.
Yeah. It's great. Balky and Jan being the, you know, show up out of nowhere European.
I think I tweeted about it maybe, but how much of a banger is that Perfect Strangers theme song?
Oh, it's so good.
It's so fucking good. And the intro itself is like, I watched it twice. I don't know, for some reason that show makes me like kind of emotional. Like seeing how happy Balky is coming to America.
Right.
I mean, I know it's like kind of a dumb sitcom, but something about it.
Yeah, his character was great.
The interaction between Dee, Charlie, and Mac has a lot of gems in it. It's pretty quick. Specifically, I'm thinking of when she just goes off on them for a little bit and their response to her is...
Well, now you're just talking crazy. You can't buy a new 1997 Dodge Neon. You can buy an old one. You can't buy a new one unless you had a time machine.
And just them not understanding why she would be mad at them is just a very funny thing.
Right.
Because like they've been taking advantage of her constantly in these 2 episodes, and it just doesn't quite connect.
Well, I think it's in the same thought process, but when she says that it's not cool that they fake their own death and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And their response is,
that's one of the cooler things you could
really
ever do.
Unbelievably
I suggest you try one.
It's cooler than I originally thought it was.
and I kind of agree. Like, unfortunately, she is, you know, she's bearing the brunt of it, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they made it look like a badass team suicide. There was like a slideshow involved.
Almost a blaze of glory.
Sort of a blaze of glory, mostly like teeth and smoke. There's the Luther shaving scene that it's not a highlight, but we had talked about it before. He's got like a straight razor. He's looking in the mirror and he says, "Goodbye, son," which doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I think the implication is that you think maybe he's going to kill himself.
Right.
Or maybe it's a threatening thing where he's like got the razor out and he's shaving, but he's also thinking about how he's going to kill Mac with it.
Right.
And then that cuts real quick to him posting the note, right?
Right.
Which I guess at that point we sort of understand that he's probably not going to kill Mac.
Doesn't he stick it with a knife?
Yeah, but then he walks away. Or you think we're still in threatening mode?
I think that's a threat. Like if you don't read the note, you just see what he does. I'm saying that's definitely a threat. Or that's a threat. That has a threatening aura.
What threat level do you think that would be?
Orange.
Threat level orange. Okay, cool. Is the knife yellow? I think orange is the orange juice. Or the whatever.
The knife, yes. And if we're going by Mac's assessment of the colors and how threatening they are, the knife is yellow, yes.
Okay, so you think it's medium threat. You didn't think it was a high threat level.
Right.
Oh, okay. I would have assumed it
just
was
because
a high
we don't.
threat level.
Well, yeah, maybe it is, but we don't see the note, and it looked like he was about to kill himself right before that. So it's like there's a very, very much mixed signals happening here.
Yeah. I would agree. We're confused. Also, it's hard for me because I know it, and I've watched it like 8 times this week, and I've seen it a million times prior. It's hard to go in with fresh eyes.
I just think that Luther scene is very weird and completely unnecessary.
I agree. Yeah, I think the whole Luther timeline could be done differently.
Yeah, you could have just been like, oh, I found this note that was stuck onto our door with a knife.
Who would say that?
Frank would say that.
Well, he does say that.
But he doesn't say a knife.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it just seems like I don't know what they were trying to do with that.
Let's just agree that could be done better. Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier, Dennis's great line about how he's going to relax all over the place in a second.
Yeah. That's when Jan is telling him to relax. Meanwhile, he's dancing with two beautiful women in their underwear. And that's the first level of Jan introducing Dennis to freaky European free love sex,
The Europeans lead the way in sexual exploration, which has been established.
Yeah, so Dennis is slowly being introduced to that world.
Dee really committing to the bit. She's got the running outfit on. She's got a gigantic fanny pack, got her headphones in. She tells Dennis exactly what she's doing, exactly where she's doing it.
Hey, Dennis.
Really? What do you want?
Hey, I just wanted to let you know I was going to go for a quick jog in Fairmont Park by myself.
Oh, yeah? Great. Okay. Have fun.
It's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I got it, Dee.
I don't know if you noticed I'm not
Go
wearing
jogging.
anything
Go
reflective.
jogging and go. What does it have to do with
Just
me?
me out there
Just
in the
go-
middle
go
of the
jog.
night in the dark by myself.
I mean, Dee in this whole episode, everyone's just not listening to her or talking over her or ignoring her, which Dennis kind of does all of those things in this. It's just what? Yes, go. Okay, I don't care. Whatever. And then when he's announcing to his new friends who she was, he doesn't really know how to word it. And he lands on, I hate her.
Yeah. Dee is definitely getting shit on in this episode, which is not out of place.
Mac and Charlie are spying on both Dennis and Frank. And the contrast of those scenes is pretty amazing because they're just right next to each other.
Right. So when Mac and Charlie view this scene, Mac's a little upset that Dennis is basically moved on, and he seems happier.
Looks like he's got a lot of new friends.
Yes, I can see that,
Some of
Charlie.
them are really pretty girls.
Yes, they are very pretty.
Wow, that's tough, man. That's a tough thing to see.
So then Mac complains and, gets a little defensive and says that he bets that, Frank is probably having a party as well.
Yeah, he's having some sort of a party.
So we cut to Charlie's old apartment.
It's your turn to take the bedpan out tonight. No, Frank! I did it last time!
So Frank has this mannequin, this child mannequin.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Dressed up as in Charlie's sleep outfit with a full beard and a giant weird wig.
It obviously looks super goofy and it's meant to be super goofy, but there is something in how Frank is distraught over the loss of Charlie.
Yeah, he is not coping well.
No, he's grieving. He's having a lot of trouble with it, which is funny and everything, but it is kind of I don't know. Frank and Charlie are very sweet together. They're maybe father and son. There's a serious bond there.
Yeah, they actually love each other. That's probably
right.
It's probably the most wholesome relationship in this entire show.
Yeah.
And the voice is amazing that Frank has for Charlie.
Yeah, which comes up
later,
in the next scene. Charlie's explaining why the poltergeist isn't scary.
Right.
Yeah. Poltergeist? What? It's not scary. It's all about psychological damage. Big deal. Look at me. Psychological damage up to here. Doesn't do anything for me,
No, what is scary is if you tape some knives to your fingers.
Right. Physical damage. Which is interesting because Charlie's approach negates any kind of movie or art in a sense because it can't physically damage you.
Right.
So no movies or TV shows can ever be scary. In a similar situation to episode 1, Charlie keeps mistaking haunting for murdering.
Right.
In the way that, I guess, faking the death and actually committing suicide.
Right.
He's like, sure, pick one. In this, he keeps going back and forth between Mac's suggestion of haunting Dennis to get back at him versus murdering him.
Check it out. We're going to put some knives on our fingers and start murdering people. Haunting people. We're going to haunt people. Whatever.
Yeah, he doesn't get quite as hung up on this one. He's just misspeaking, it seems like, but it's pretty cute.
Yeah, so as they're arguing about this and planning what to do, Dee comes back from her run because she forgot that
I don't have a car.
She doesn't have a car, so she actually had to run back from Dennis's apartment, which is interesting because the bar, I think they've established that it's in South Philadelphia.
Okay.
And Spring Garden Street is like north-ish.
Okay.
It's like on the northern side.
So we're talking a major distance here.
Yeah, that's like a decent run. And then she also she claims when she's at Dennis's apartment that she's going to run through Fairmount Park, which is not in between those two. So she may have had a very, very long run. I don't know where his apartment is supposed to be, but
as Dee is explaining this situation to Mac and Charlie, they're shutting her down is incredible. I think Mac says,
Awesome story, Dee. That's the end of it, right? That could be the end of the story?
just like waving his hand in front of her face, like,
yeah, I think
Jesus,
he's like,
man.
He's referencing a window shutting or like a door slamming shut or something. And then, yeah, I guess that, in the middle of that argument, they realize that Dennis and his party are coming back to the bar, so they have to hide.
A question I had about this is, why is Frank there? Did he just randomly go to the bar?
Yeah, I guess so. It's hard to... Well, okay. Let's say this. I didn't even think about it, but Dennis and Frank were originally like gung-ho on the glory hole in the previous episode. They were trying to figure it out. They went to the orgy.
Right.
For the anonymous sex. There's a good chance that Dennis might have invited Frank to the sex party.
Okay.
If for no other reason than to prove to Frank that he found a crazy cool sex party, whereas Frank's orgy was lame.
Yeah, they should have just stuck that in there real quick, because I think that's very plausible.
Right. It's probably
your description.
Dennis had no clue about New Charlie.
Right, because it just seems weird that like all these young women and this German guy, it's implied that it's like after hours.
Right.
And Frank is just arriving there at the same time with this mannequin.
If you don't go through the process that I went through to like imagine why, it seems random and weird.
But it's great because Charlie hears, I think, or does he see them? He hears them.
Yeah, I think they might be spying a little bit because Mac references being the best party he's ever seen.
Right. They know that Frank has that mannequin.
Right.
But one of my favorite parts of this episode is when Charlie is getting upset. He's freaking out about Frank having the mannequin of him because he says,
I care about the mannequin. I look like a jerk in front of those girls with that thing.
It's just such another cute Charlie thing.
He's identifying with the mannequin, or he thinks it's believable somehow.
Right.
And that's like a representation.
Yeah, if they saw the mannequin and then they saw Charlie, they'd be like, oh, that's who the mannequin is.
Or maybe they would think it was him. Like they wouldn't know the difference, possibly.
Yeah. Oh, this guy Charlie? Yeah, I met him. He's a mannequin.
Yeah, I met him. He was saying weird things. And he also references the voice that Frank's doing.
Frank's doing a good... I think Frank's doing great.
He is. I think he did a great job with the outfit. The voice is close. And yeah, it's funny because Charlie's voice starts to get like higher and higher as he's getting more upset. And he's like, I don't even sound like that. But he's like kind of squeaking as he's doing it.
Yeah, so Jan informs Dennis that he set up some real kinky stuff with the glory hole. I love the way he says glory hole, by the way. I'm just going to pop that in there.
I've arranged for you to use the glory hole.
Yeah, he announces it to the room.
And we kind of talked about this before, but I don't know that Jan is to blame here.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis had the opportunity to have sex with two freaky European babes at his apartment. But he thought it was ruined because he found out their names. And then he mentioned to Jan that he was disappointed by the situation. Right. And he really thought he was going to have some real freaky, wild sex party,
Anonymous
sex. He really wanted it to be stepped up.
Yeah.
And Jan was just, I think, trying to give Dennis what he asked for. As you said, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Jan gave him like the kinkiest version of this possible. I don't know if he knows that Frank and Dennis are related or, Frank is his dad.
Right.
But it's like, what would be the craziest thing I could do with this glory hole?
Right.
How about this 4-foot tall old man right here?
Dragging a mannequin around.
So I'm not German. I can't get inside the mind of a German. But I think that Jan was doing what he thought was the right thing.
Yeah. And honestly, when they step it up, quote unquote, from the apartment sex party to the bar sex party, it doesn't really seem much different.
It seems exactly the same.
There are more women, and I think at one point we see 2 girls kiss.
Right.
Which is cool. But Dennis is like, oh my God, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And
right.
I mean, if I were in Jan's position, that's exactly what I would have done. That's the kinkiest thing that could have happened for Dennis. Speaking of which, it's a great scene when Frank is explaining to new Charlie in the stall what's about to happen.
Any minute now, the German broad is gonna knock on that wall.
Yeah.
And then you just see the slow shadow of a penis go through the glory hole.
To reference part 1, Frank says...
There is no way I can picture that as a girl.
Which is exactly what Dee was trying to make him understand.
Right.
The first episode.
Yeah. Again, that line from the previous episode is like, that's on him. That's his problem.
That's on you, Frank. The part I wanted to point out here is when you know, Dee's like, we're alive and it's blowing your mind. And Dennis is like, no, I knew you guys were alive.
I can see you staring at me through the window. You know I can see through my windows, right?
When that scene happened, they are just like, their faces are basically up against the window.
Yeah. They're on the fire escape, just staring in. Not even like peeking over the edge of the window.
No.
They're just sitting in front of the window, like taking up the entire space.
I also would like to point out here that, again, Danny DeVito flexing his acting chops.
Oh my God, yes.
When he's coming to terms with Charlie not being dead, he's just like shell-shocked.
Yeah, because Dennis explains how he knew, and then Charlie starts to sort of question Frank.
Frank, you knew too?
Yeah, I knew.
And some of the stuff you've been doing with this mannequin here, that's like, to teach me a lesson, or?
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but he's like gently caressing and rubbing the arm of the mannequin.
I didn't notice that, but that's great.
Like the sleeve is kind of rolled up, so the arm is kind of bare, and he's like dragging his like fingertips across it, kind of in shock, just being like, yeah, totally, I knew the whole time. Also, going back, as for the haunting and the reveal when the 3 of them come out of the closet or the back room, it's pretty absurd. But Charlie's laugh.
No, it is not blowing our
is really good. He has like, it could be recorded as like a fake witch Halloween laugh.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's like that classic witch.
Yeah, it literally sounds like a witch's laugh. Again, one of those things where it's like, oh, like, yeah, he's probably done a billion voiceover type things and has probably like trained or studied or whatever. And it's like, oh, yeah, right. Great voice actor.
Great voice actor. And then, yeah, I mean, again, Danny DeVito is an amazing actor. And even in something as stupid as this, he can show how good he is.
Yeah. Yeah, just to skip back a little bit, to really complete the 2-part episode where Dee gets shit on constantly, I appreciated Dennis's line when they're coming to terms with everything, and he's like, yeah, I knew you guys were alive, whatever, I figured it out. Which is also funny that he acts so kind of like, yeah, obviously, but it took him a while to figure it out. When you think about it, but
he fell for it hook, line, and sinker in episode 1.
Exactly.
He was speaking of distraught. He was distraught,
right? And that's why I thought it was funny that he was so high and mighty about it. But when Dee said, "Wait, you knew I was faking it too?"
I thought might have actually been murdered.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. He knew the route that she had to run.
Right. So yeah, he just to add insult to injury, to put a cherry on top of all the shit Sundays that Dee had to eat on this episode, her brother was like not sure if she was alive or not and didn't really care. And we complete the episode.
Jesus Christ, that's so loud. Can you hear it?
Did I just reference a shit Sunday?
I can go get one. He's like right outside.
And the ice cream man shows up on cue. And what I think puts a nice little bow on the episode is, other than the tag of, Luther in Tijuana, but when Charlie finally says,
sorry about your car, Dee.
When he realizes that they didn't need to do any of that.
Yeah. Then they can understand maybe why she was upset, now that they know that it was all for naught.
It's time for Shallow Dive with Nate Harold.
And I just wanted to quickly talk about the actor Gregory Scott Cummins.
Okay.
Who is Luther McDonald.
Of course.
And as some of you may know because of the clips that I've put in, I am a fan of Red Letter Media, which is a YouTube channel. They do reviews and other stuff, but they're probably best known for a YouTube series called Best of the Worst, where they watch, sometimes they only watch one, most of the time they watch 3 bad movies, shitty B movies, like sometimes they're extremely shitty. Anyways, I've been like plowing through that. I watch it before I go to bed at night, so I'm like, I've watched a few episodes at this point. But I saw an episode where they reviewed a movie called Action USA, and Gregory Scott Cummins was in it, and they maybe mentioned him being in Always Sunny, but I think they mentioned the Batman Returns thing. But they also mentioned that he was in another movie that they had reviewed called Hack-O-Lantern. And I went back, and I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen clips, and I sent you a clip of it. It is bonkers. There's a really great scene where his mom was like pounding on the door, like, I don't want to see you go down this road. And he puts on these his like Walkman headphones and listens to this amazing music. And then as he's like, he's got his eyes closed, so he's like fantasizing, and he's in the band that's playing. Oh God, what is the song called?
Now, when Nate sent me this clip, I watched it, and it was pretty believable to me. The song sounded legit. The video looked legit. I thought maybe he was in a band, during his acting career.
Other than him obviously not knowing how to play guitar. Devil's Son. You're the Devil's Son. It sounds exactly like Shout at the Devil. Like the chorus is dun 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 dun. Anyways, it's amazing. I would recommend everyone listening to this go watch the trailer, or specifically watch the Devil's Son music video. I guess it's a music video. It's a clip from the movie. It's incredible. But I just want to say that Gregory Scott Cummins is a great actor, and he was a hunk.
Yeah, total babe. I mean, he still is.
He still is, yeah. He's got those piercing blue eyes.
Yeah, I bet if he didn't, if he wasn't made to look like a, neck tattoo, tribal, like prison guy, I bet you could do him up and make him look like a super hot, older salt and pepper gentleman.
I just wanted to celebrate the ability, skill, and talent of Gregory Scott Cummins.
I
celebrate him on this podcast. He's one of the best recurring characters.
Yeah.
And go dive into his other work.
Yeah. Go do that deep dive on your own.
Last episode, I said I was saving my grade for this episode, and now this is an A+.
Personally, I think that the first episode was stronger than the second.
100%.
But
100% agree.
I would say there's some like parts that are a little long, there's a little draggy, but there are a lot of attractive women in their underwear, so I feel like that buoys it a little bit, that gets us through the lulls.
Yeah, it's a truly classic episode of Always Sunny. One of the best.
Yeah.
For sure. Top 5.
New Charlie. Great.
Yawn is great. Any episode with Luther is great. We get a little bit of Mrs. Mack and Bonnie Kelly.
Just a dash.
We get the outline of Dennis's penis.
Do you think that was actually his penis?
I don't. We're not sure what we're doing next week for an episode. We're both going on trips. Maybe there will be an episode next week. Maybe there won't. And with that, we'll see you next time.
So long, folks.
Get a feeling like you need some kind of change.